Hey guys, it's Nick here again over at SCCY Industries. Today we're going to be going over how to disassemble and clean your DVG and also your CPX series. Our DVG again is our striker fired series, CPX series is our hammer fired. Today I have the CPX2 with me, so it's no safety and it's chambered in 9mm. DVG is also chambered in 9mm. Tools I have with me today are going to be our proprietary purple grease, a little magnet tray to be able to set my disassembly pins to keep them out of my way in case I need to move some parts around, a brush to be able to apply the grease, and a flathead screwdriver to be able to remove the disassembly pin. I don't have very big nails, so I don't like to stick them in there and try to pry. I'd rather just use a screwdriver and make it a little bit easier. So starting out, I'm going to move the CPX aside and move forward to DVG. So the most important part whenever you're handling a firearm is making sure that until you have proven that it is clear, treat it like it is a loaded firearm. I always go through, make sure that I check the chamber, make sure that I handle the firearm like it is loaded until I prove otherwise. I've already gone through and made sure that I've released the magazine and cleared the firearm before the video, so I'm going to jump right into it. First thing I'm going to do is use my screwdriver, flathead, to pop the disassembly pin out. It doesn't take much pressure. Once you remove the disassembly pin, the next thing I'm going to do is pick the firearm up. I'm left-handed, but I'm going to be using my right hand. Once I pick the firearm up, I'm going to grab the back half of the slide, and using my right hand, my thumb, I'm going to be lowering the slide release, letting that down and slowly moving the slide back and forth until the barrel falls into chamber. At that point, since it is a striker fired, I'm going to be using the trigger to release the slide and separate the frame from the slide assembly. I'm going to move my receiver assembly to the side for the time being and moving right into the slide. Next thing I'm going to do is take the recoil rod out by just pulling upward. Using my left hand, I'm going to use any one of my index finger, my middle finger, or my ring finger just to push the barrel up slightly so I can grab it with my right hand. I'm going to pull the barrel out, set that to the side as well. This gun happens to be very clean, so in a normal day, if the gun had been fired through 500 plus rounds, I would take a rag and just clean out through the bottom of the barrel pocket and also along the rail slide. Today, we're just going to be applying grease. So once I open the grease up, I'm just going to take a very light amount on the brush. And what I'm going to do is hit these key points. And I'll use the screwdriver to identify those before I apply the grease. Down in the barrel pocket, I'm going to apply all across the bottom, just lightly, along with the sides of the walls inside of the slide itself. And last and most importantly, I'm going to be going down through where the rails interact on the frame. So just very lightly again, I don't want to add a ton of grease, but I want to make sure that the gun is lubed up. All these firearms work very well when they do have a good amount of grease added to them. They do not like to fire dry. They can, but me personally, I like to fire them with a good amount of grease added to them. So I'm just going to take a couple passes on the inside, on the two side walls, and then down the rails. Making sure that I have an even coating and it's not gunked up in anywhere specific, but it just has a nice clean coat. For that slide, that's perfect. Moving over to my frame assembly. This is very simple and very short. I just go right across the top with a light layer of grease. After I've applied the grease, it's time to reassemble. The important part when reassembling this firearm is making sure that you understand where the disassembly pin is going to fit through not only the barrel, but the receiver. Popping it out, the gun is already assembled, so you're not having to worry about the reassembly. But I have seen people put the disassembly pin in the wrong place and then run into issues when reassembling it. So what I want to do beforehand is envision myself placing the disassembly pin through what I'm going to be referring to as the kidney of the barrel. That is where the disassembly pin is going to be going through. On the frame side of things, obviously you know where you popped it out of, but it's going to be going right back through that hole and then through the kidney of the barrel and into the other side of the frame itself. So what I'll do is reassemble the slide by putting the barrel in first. I like to use the muzzle of the barrel through the barrel hole of the slide, direct it inward, and reverse it down until it drops in. Next, I will be adding the recoil rod back in, and again, I will be putting that into the recoil rod hole of the slide first, and then using a little bit of pressure, pushing back against the bottom side of the recoil rod and letting it drop right into the barrel. I like to firmly make sure that that's seated properly, making sure that it's seated even on the barrel, it's not leaning one side or the other. At that point, again, I'm left-handed, so I'm going to be picking the slide up with my left hand and placing it onto the frame, which is in my right. Using the rail system on the frame itself and the rail system on the slide, I'm going to interact the two, just nice and easy. If you feel resistance, I would back it off and make sure that everything inside of the recoil rod and barrel assembly is properly fitted. Once those two have mated together, I'm going to use the upward pressure to pull the slide back and push with my right hand downward on the frame, and use my thumb to make the slide lock go up and catch on the slide lock of the slide itself. Once I've mated the two, it might take a time or two for you to get your thumb in the right position to move that slide hold up and engage with the slide itself. Once you have locked it back, you're going to use your fingers, I'm going to use my left hand again, to move the barrel into the right place. And what I want to do is move it back and forth a couple times. See where the kidney is on the barrel, and you want to make sure that you pull the barrel all the way forward and then slowly move it back. And you'll see where the kidney of the barrel starts to interact with the slide itself. You don't want the barrel to be pushed too far in and put the disassembly pin in, because then you'll have it in the wrong area. Again, you want it to be in the area where that I showed you in the video, to where the kidney is perfectly placed, right where that hole aligns. And then at that point, you're able just to easily push the disassembly pin back in, and you'll hear it click, and you know that it's properly seated. At that point, it is time to release the slide using the slide lock. I like to grab the slide myself instead of just dropping it with the slide lock. I like to pull back a little bit and then release the slide lock and let the gun go down. You have a fully finished and cleaned DVG at this point.